Hi everyone, welcome to today's video. So let me start today's video by sharing a fact of life and you tell me whether you agree with me or not. So the fact of life is that many of us get our salary in the first week of the month. We get that salary, we feel very happy. Then during the month, we incur a bunch of expenses that we are not tracking. And towards the end, whatever little money is left, someone comes and tells us that, hey, why don't you invest in FDs, or why don't you invest in mutual funds, why don't you invest in stocks, because people are making 10%, 20%, 30% returns, why don't you do that? Then whatever money is left, you go and invest. Now, the point is that this is a very ad hoc way of allocating your finances and planning your finances. This way, you will not be able to be financially free. So on this video, I'm going to share 5 personal finance tips with you. What are the 5 things that I do to keep a better track of my money, keep a track of my spending and grow my money eventually. Now, this is a very short video, so of course I'll not be able to cover all the points related to personal finance. It's a much richer and deeper topic. So there is a link in the description box. Please go check it out and fill it up. It's a Google form link. There is a free, absolutely free 1-hour session that I will do in partnership with Jupiter, which is a neobank. I will talk more about it. This session is completely free for you and I will personally teach on this session about personal finance. Please do attend it. I will talk a lot about increasing your income, saving on taxes and bunch of other personal finance concepts. Sign up, the link is in the description box. Please fill out all the correct details, only then you will receive the invite to that session. Now there are 5 simple rules that I will explain you about personal finance, or other 5 simple strategies that I will explain about personal finance that will help you understand your money and grow your money. So the 5 things that I'm going to discuss on this video is that number 1, how to keep a better track of your finances. Second, how to build a personal cash flow statement. Third, how to optimize your spending. Fourth, how to build an emergency fund. And fifth and finally, how to do goal-based planning. So this might look very hi-fi as of now, but please don't worry. I'll break down all these points in simple, easy to understand language. So please stay tuned till the end of the video. Alright, so the first point is, and let me start by asking you a question. Now, if your parents come to you and they ask that, hey, how much liquid money do you have in your bank accounts, right? It could be FDs, it could be savings bank deposits. So if they ask you that, hey, how much money is lying idle in your bank account? Give me an estimate. You will struggle to give that estimate right away, right? You might not have an inkling, right? Especially if you have multiple bank accounts. For example, in my case, I have multiple bank accounts because I have some personal bank accounts also. I have corporate bank account also. So it becomes very complicated for me to get an assessment of how much idle money is sitting in my accounts. Now, this is very important for me to know because if I know how much liquid cash is there with me, I can probably invest it and grow it. Otherwise, I'll keep on getting 2% return on my savings account, which is not good. And in corporate account, it's 0. Right? So you don't get any interest on your corporate accounts. So I use Jupiter to track this feature and it was very interesting for me because I could track my money immediately across different accounts. And one of his was also in a Sarkari bank also. You can guess the name in the comment section. It would be fun for me to read. So by using this app, I was able to get an estimate of how much money is lying idle in my bank accounts. Now, of course, if I am able to keep a track of my money, I'll be able to spend it better. Now, you might say that, hey, Akshat, is this app safe or is there like some issue with this app, all that stuff? Now, these type of apps are called as neobanks, right? So neobanks and new age banks, they work in partnership with your traditional banks, right? It's not as if that neobank is a bank in itself. Neobanks are essentially a layer over your conventional bank. For example, if you have an account with HDFC Bank, if you have an account with ICICI Bank, or if you have an account with SBI Bank or any bank, right? For that matter, neobanks work in partnership with these different conventional banks. So these work in conjunction with these conventional banks. Why can't the HDFC or ICICI Bank give me the same functionality? Because they are focused on other things. So they have somewhat, in my opinion, this is my opinion, that these conventional banks have outsourced a part of their technology to these new age neobanks. There are multiple such neobanks. You can try out different apps and figure out whichever works best for you. They help you keep a track of your money and add multiple functional layers to it to keep a better track of your financing and optimize your finance. For example, now you might say that, okay, Akshat, hey, great, you are able to track your money across all different accounts. What good does that do? Okay, so let me explain. And this is a pro tip, and please press the like button if you like this tip. So what I do is that if I have some money lying in my savings account across different banks, I will almost withdraw 95% of it. Okay, so let's assume that if I have 10 lakh rupees sitting idle in my bank account, I will withdraw 9.5 lakhs and I will put it where? I will put it in liquid debt fund. Okay, if there are no good investment opportunities in the market, I will simply go and put my money in liquid debt fund. Are liquid debt funds completely 100% safe? No, but they are very, very safe. There are very rare instances when some liquid debt fund would have had some issue, but liquid debt funds are very safe. So you can go put your money there. I do the same, right? Why do I do it? Because on liquid debt fund, how much return do I make? I make return equivalent to an FD, fixed deposit, but I don't have any lock-in period in liquid debt funds. So I put my money there, I let it grow. Now, if some good opportunity comes into the picture, if I've analyzed a few stocks and if I want to make investments, I can withdraw money from my liquid debt fund in literally 2 days, right? With no penalty whatsoever. So I withdraw that money, put it into different investment opportunities that I've identified. Now you're making a huge mistake if your money is sitting idle in your bank account or if your money is sitting in an FD, because in savings account you make 2 to 3% return. That's it. When you would have easily made 6% return. And if you're locking in your money just for 6% return in an FD, then again you are making a huge mistake, right? So please remember this basic point, very simple tip, that move all your idle money from your fixed deposit or from your savings account to where? To liquid debt funds. That helps you make more return. Now, the second key thing that you must do is called as building a personal cash flow statement. Okay. Now, please don't get bogged down. It's not as if that I'll teach you very hi-fi Excel spreadsheet modeling, something like that. No, this is a simple spreadsheet that anyone can make. You don't even need MS Excel software. All you simply need to do is that go on your Google Drive and there is an option to create an Excel spreadsheet. Okay, so you have a very basic understanding of what your personal cash flow statement should look like. So first write down your income, right? Then write down how much money you are making. So it could be, let's say that you are making 50,000 from your job. Okay, then what could be your other income streams? It could be, for example, you are making money from your fixed deposit or you are getting some dividend income. So just roughly write it. For example, let's say that you are making 10,000 rupees. It could come from your rent. If you own some property, it could come from your dividend income or any other job that you're doing on the sidelines. So keep a track of that, right? So then just simply do the sum, right? This gives you an understanding of how much money you are making in total, right? So this is part one. Now divide your expenses into necessary expenses and fun expenses. Okay. So necessary expenses would be that, hey, if you have a house and you have to pay a rent, right? So if you are paying a rent of, let's say, 25,000. Now, next major expense would be that if you own an insurance, right? So let's say that you're putting 5,000 in insurance. Similarly, keep on populating it. Now, fun expenses would be that, hey, I like to buy like Decathlon shirts. So I'll buy 4 t-shirts every month. It costs like 500 times 4. So that is like 2,000 bucks of fun money. Then what else? I would probably have some kind of streaming service. Maybe I don't own Netflix all the time. I just buy it once in a while, watch all the shows and move away. So streaming service would be maybe like 500 rupees. Keep a track, and then when you see this green part and this blue part, try to find a consonance between the two. What do I mean by that? For example, it should not be that your fun money is like 50% of your entire expense, right? That should not be the case. Your fun money or fun expenses should not be more than 10 to 20% of your entire expenses, right? Figure out a way to cut it down. That's point one. Point two, what does this basic Excel spreadsheet helps you do? What it helps you do is that it helps you cut out the expenses. For example, if you are going to study abroad, right, then you need to save money. Then it gives you a very clear sense where you need to cut out your expense. So what would be the first place? Fun expenses should go out first. So having this basic personal cash flow statement is very important for you. It does not require any genius brain to come up with this. It requires very basic entries that you need to make, but keep a rough track of it. This is what I also do. Now the third point is that I always optimize my spend, right? I talked very briefly about it in point number 2. So let me get into more details. Now, let me ask you a question. Let me ask you a very basic question here. So in order to undertake a spending of 100 rupees, if I ask you that how much money or how much income you need to make, you might say 100 rupees, right? No, that is incorrect, because you have to pay GST. In India, the GST charges are usually between like 12% to 18% on majority of the items. You will say that, hey, to a fruit seller, I don't need to pay GST. You might have to pay if it's like Reliance Mart and all that stuff. So that happens, and we are taking a general example. Second thing, you will have to pay tax. It depends on your tax slab. So let's assume 20%. Let's assume a GST of 15%. So in order to spend 100 rupees, you will have to make an income of 140 rupees. Therefore, it is very important to be a mindful spender. Let me show you another example. So for example, let's say that you are able to save only 1000 rupees a month. Now this is a very easy maneuvering. If you go back to your personal cash flow statement, you will see that, hey, instead of buying like 4 Decathlon shirts, I can only buy 2, right? I'm not asking you to become a penny pincher, but I'm just asking you to play around with the numbers depending on whichever financial stage of your life you are at, right? Of course, spend some fun money. I'm not against that. Do it. Enjoy life. Not a problem at all. But don't do it in a very lopsided manner. That, hey, I'm making 100 rupees, but I'm spending like 90 rupees on my fun money. Please don't do that. Okay. So if you're able to save 1000 rupees, that almost all of us can, right? One way or the other. If we do a little bit of maneuvering with our budget, we will be able to save like $1000, right? And I'm not even touching our core expenses. So if you are able to save 1000 rupees, and we can usually grow our money in the stock market at 12%, and if we are, let's say, 25, 30, then we at least will be investing this money for 30 years one way or the other. The total value comes out to be 35 lakhs of that 1000 rupee monthly investment. So if you are able to save money by 1000 every single month, keep investing in the stock market, grow it at 12%, then that amount comes out to be 35.29 lakhs. Now I can hear a lot of clicking noises that, hey Akshat, 12% return, very high, this, that. I agree, guys. I'm not saying otherwise. It is tough to grow your money, no doubt about that, but this is a exercise. 12% return is reasonable because the 20-year CAGR of Nifty 50 has been 12.2%. Therefore, I have taken 12% at the expected rate of return. If you are mindful with your money, it allows your money to grow exponentially. So please keep that in mind. Every penny saved and invested can generate massive returns for you going forward. Now, the primary challenge in doing this is that we don't track our expenses, right? For example, if I ask you that how much money you have spent on health supplements or going to the gym and how much money you are spending on your fitness, which is very important, you might struggle to give me an estimate, right? So it's very important, therefore, to keep a track of your money. Now, here is a snapshot for you and you can check. A neobank like Jupiter can help you track your spending very effectively. If you are spending 5,800 on your health, or if you're spending 4,500 on your rent and 1,200 on your bills, and dining out you're spending 100 rupees, and if there is room for you to save this. So if you use these neobanks, it allows you to track your spending better. You will get an exact mix of where your money is going. If you are spending out eating more, then probably you can cut out some expenses out of it. Similarly, if you are using too much electricity at home, then probably it's time to switch off the AC. So all these basic things you can only do if you are tracking your money well. So this is very important. This is something that even I used to do in the earlier part of my life. I don't do it now extensively because my sources of income have increased, all that stuff. But this is very important exercise for you to do at the early part of your life. In my case, this methodology has changed now from a slightly bigger perspective. In my case, what I do now is that I, for example, have invested in certain companies. So I will take a look at the broad expenses that I'm incurring there and the returns that I'm getting. So I do ballparking that way. Similarly, if I have made some investments in the US stocks, then I will track my budget accordingly, right? Rather than making a household budget, I'll make a portfolio budget from that angle. But household budget is something that even I used to do when I was in early part of my career. So this is a very important exercise. Neobanks can help you massively there. So do try it out. Now the fourth thing that I do is that I have an emergency fund. Now every person would have their own definition of an emergency fund. Sometimes people ask me that, hey, how much money is enough in the emergency fund? Should it be like 10 lakhs, 20 lakhs, 30 lakhs? It really depends on your personal situation, right? It depends on two things. It depends, number one, on your expenses that you incur every single month. That's A. Second, it depends on your lifestyle inflation. Now, please understand the concept of emergency fund. Emergency fund means that, for example, if your entire household income is dependent on you, you are going to a job and that is where all your household income comes from, then your emergency fund would be something like that, hey, if I lose the job, what would happen to my household? Will I be able to run it or not? That is what you need to plan for. In my case, it would be that, hey, if all my businesses stop, then what is it that I need to plan for? So this entire concept of emergency fund is that you need to define the emergency in your life, right? For example, having multiple sources of income is an emergency for me. For some other person, it could be that, hey, I need to keep my house afloat. That's an emergency. This situation keeps on changing with your life. But for the purpose of general discussion, it is very important to have an estimate of what your emergency fund should look like. Ideally, it should be 6 to 7 months of your expenses that you need to incur on monthly basis. For example, if you have expenses of 50,000 per month in terms of running your house, then multiply it by 6, which is 3 lakhs. That becomes your emergency fund. Now, why am I saying 6 months? Because let's say that you lose your job, right? Because of some pandemic like situation or some bad stuff, then the usual cycle of finding another job is 3 to 4 months. So it's very important for you to keep a track of this emergency fund because it helps you deal with the emergency. That's one. But there is another key reason why this emergency fund is important. Because it tells you that, hey, if I am sorted from an emergency point of view, that I have enough money which can help me sustain for 1 year or 2 years, then you are free, right? Then you have a cushion. You can then pick up that additional money and invest for growth, right? Now, a lot of youngsters come to me, they say that, hey, Akshat, you know what? I have like 10 lakh rupees lying in my account. Where should I invest? My parents always tell me do FD. Now, if you have 10 lakh rupees and your emergency fund expense is only, let's say 5 lakhs, then you have 5 lakh more which you can put in growth funds. For example, you can do direct equity based investing. That is slightly risky, but it gives you higher return. You should be okay with that because you are putting your money for what? For growth. Similarly, if you say that, hey, Akshat, you know what, I'm okay taking a little bit more risk also, then go invest in cryptos. Now that is slightly more risky, but again, you understand that you are investing for growth. So having this sense of emergency fund is very important for you because whatever money is saved and is outside this emergency fund, you can pick it up and start investing for growth. And this is one of the key strategies that even I use for my financial planning. Now, fifth and final point that I usually undertake is that I do goal-based investing, right? Now, essentially, all of us would have two types of goals. One would be short-term goals that I want to go and study abroad or I want to go to ISB, right? This is a short-term plan because this will play out in 3 to 5 years, usually speaking, right? So this is a short-term plan. Then second would be long-term plan. This could be, in my case, for example, if I want to send Zain abroad. When he is 16, 17 years old, if he wants to go study outside India, that's a long-term plan for me. Similarly, for you, long-term goal would be what? It would be retirement planning, that you need a corpus of X% for that goal. So no matter what your goal is, whether it is short-term or long-term, we need to define it. Similarly, you would have heard of the concept of piggy banks, right? That you have different piggy banks, putting money in it. But the issue with conventional bank is that you just get a bank statement. You cannot open like 50 different accounts, right? It will be very hard to track. You have to pay operating charges and whatnot. So by using something like Jupyter, you can create these subcategories of goals. You can create these different pots that, hey, I want to go to ISB. So every month, let me put like 5,000 rupees in that pot. Similarly, I'm planning for my retirement. So let me put 10,000 money in that pot. So doing this different piggy bank type of investing is also very important for you because it allows you to keep a track of your goals and you see this pots growing every month. So it keeps you motivated also that, hey, okay, you know what, this month I have forgotten to put money in my ISB admission fee account. So next month I will save more and I'll put more money in it. So by having this type of psychology, you will be able to accomplish your goals and save better and plan for your goals. So in essence, personal finance is a very complex topic, but if you break it apart, it just falls into the following category. That how do you make more money? You make more money by doing a bunch of activities. But the second more important point is that how do you keep a track of your money? That is extremely important because if you can keep a track of your money, it makes you motivated towards accomplishing your goals. And more importantly, whatever residual money is left, that whatever money is left in terms of idle money that is sitting in your bank account or different deposit instruments, you can pick it up and invest for growth. So I hope you enjoyed the video. Do check the link in the description box. I will be personally teaching that personal finance masterclass for free. You can attend it for free, absolutely free. Fill your details correctly and I will see you on that session. You will receive all the notifications and I will see you the next time.